We at the Peace Education and Action Center believe in education. And so we try to educate ourselves, and Rhana and I have been part of a corporate power study group that we've been holding for the past 10 weeks, and we have some other members here today as well. And a couple weeks ago, one of our members brought in a copy of the Hightower Lowdown to share some information that she'd read the previous week. And so that evening I went to Jim Hightower's website to read a little bit more, and I found his commentary for Monday, September 22nd, entitled "The Corporate Purchase of America's Political Discourse," where he encouraged people to get involved with Move to Amend to help stop the corporate purchase of the people's political speech rights. I took a shot in the dark the next day, and I phoned him up. I made it clear that this was a grassroots effort, and there wasn't going to be any money involved. And he was actually out of town, so I was speaking with his people, and they got in touch with him, and I was really surprised. I got a call back the next week, and they said, Jim would like to come. So I want you to know that Jim Hightower is here today for the same reason the rest of us are here today, and that's to reclaim our democracy and to strike at the roots of corporate power. This man has been preaching the grassroots gospel for most of his life. He's had first-hand experience of politics and government, both as a legislative assistant on Capitol Hill and as the two-term Agriculture Commissioner of Texas, where he fought for small farmers against the giants of agribusiness. In addition to best-selling books like Thieves in High Places and There's Nothing in the Middle of the Road But Yellow Stripes and Dead Armadillos, he publishes a political newsletter called the Hightower Lowdown, which we hope you got a copy of when you came in the door. And we hope you'll subscribe and support Jim's efforts. And we are so thrilled to have him here today. Please give him a big, warm Sarasota welcome, Mr. Jim Hightower.
Thank you so much. What a joy to be in this beautiful setting with such a beautiful purpose. And thanks to Arlene and to Ray Claire and to all the volunteers who make this possible. That's what makes democracy possible, are volunteers, people who step out and do the extraordinary things. And our wonderful radio station, 96.5 back there, WSLR, radioactive for democracy, for the people's interest. Just a joy. Thank you so much for allowing a scruffy Texas populist to come in here with you Bazzini Eastas, for this kickoff celebration of Rhana's momentous and uplifting 350-mile trek to Tallahassee. Makes me happier than the flea at a dog show to be standing up here looking out at all of you tremendous corruption fighters and corporate butt kickers, you agitators, for what this tall flag here stands for: economic fairness, social justice, equal opportunity for all people. That's what that represents. That's why we're sitting here this evening. I come to you not merely from Austin, Texas, but from South Austin. And we have a little different attitude over on the south side of the river there. We're sort of irreverent. And our unofficial slogan is, we're all here because we're not all there. And I think we're all here this afternoon because we know that the powers that be in Washington, in Tallahassee, on Wall Street, and in the corporate suites are not at all there on the fundamentals of the concept of our people's sovereignty. The 5 black-robed thugs of the Supreme Court, let's call their names. We need to memorize these names. Alito, Kennedy, Roberts, Scalia, and Thomas. Yeah. They're as confused as goats on AstroTurf when it comes to understanding what America's about when they decree that a corporation is a person, that corporate money is free speech. Well, you don't have to be in who's who to know what's what. It's a perversion of both law and nature to claim that a scrap of paper can be a person and to insist that money is speech. By the way, as Rhana was indicating there, if money is speech, then by definition, speech is no longer free, right? Whoever's got the most money gets the most speech. So we're here with Rhana to say that she will walk and speak for each of us as she makes this joyous journey along highways 19 and 41, carrying common sense to high places, even in Tallahassee, Florida. It's possible. She travels in the spirit of Granny D, which she cited, Doris Haddock, whom I was privileged to know, at 89 years of age on New Year's Day, 1999, at the Rose Bowl Parade. She followed the Rose Bowl Parade. She was the last entry in the Rose Bowl Parade. And as the parade ended and turned north, Granny kept going east, just kept moving, you know. But 3,200 miles across this country. And Susan DeMarco and I, back then, had a radio talk show that we were doing, and every Friday we would connect with Granny wherever the hell she was along that trail and talk with her a little bit. And we learned about her trek, her going through the Mojave Desert at 105 degrees, encountering Senator John Kyle and making him hide in his office, lock his office, because he didn't want to meet with his grandmother from New Hampshire. She encountered a rattlesnake in Texas, and she encountered Mitch McConnell in Tennessee. She had a snowstorm in West Virginia, but she kept walking and kept talking. They had to tape her feet every now and then. She had to have a steel corset to support her back, but she kept walking. February 29th, 2000, she entered Washington, and I was privileged to get to walk on that last little mile or so with her. We crossed the Memorial Bridge and over to the Lincoln Memorial, where Granny made a talk. And then we went over to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial to pay tribute to that. And then we marched right past the White House, and then up K Street, where the corporate lobbyists have all of their offices, and then right up to the Capitol steps, where Granny gave one of the best speeches I've ever heard in my life, and I've heard quite a few very, very good ones. She addressed the throng of people who were there on the east side of the Capitol with a moving portrayal of this 3,200-mile journey she'd been on through the heart of our country. She says, "The people I met along my way have given me messages to deliver here. The messages are many, written with old and young hands of every color, and yet the messages are the same. They are this. Shame on you, senators and congressmen, who have turned the headquarters of a great and self-governing people into a bawdy house." Wow. We need to have more of that kind of language directed to those who pretend to represent us. But she kept going even after that. 2002, McCain-Feingold bill passed thanks to her trip across our country. And in fact, both McCain and Feingold heralded her in the gallery of the Senate when that was being considered. In 2003, she was arrested in the state capitol rotunda for reading the First Amendment to the Constitution. And she was hauled to jail for doing that in our United States Congress. Then she ran for Senate against a Republican incumbent up in her home state of New Hampshire. And they tried to mess with her. You know, they said she could not use her name, Granny D. She couldn't use her nickname on the ballot, even though nicknames are commonly used on election ballots. So Granny went to court and had her middle name changed to Granny D. So it got on the ballot. And then the politicos tried to trivialize her and said, "Well, you're 90-something years old. You know, what are you going to do in the U.S. Senate?" She said, "I only intend to serve one term." And March 9, 2010, she died at 100 years of age. But you are proof that she did not die at all. Her heart beats like a big bass drum in everyone who dares to confront the corporate corruptors of our inalienable right to be a self-governing people. I referred to you at the top of this little peroration as agitators. The powers that be try to make that a pejorative in our society. Oh, those agitators. our workers were perfectly happy in that factory until those union agitators came in. The poor people didn't mind living up against that toxic waste site until the environmental agitators came in and started messing with their heads. Well, as we say out in Lubbock, Texas, bovine excrement. Agitation is what America's all about. Agitation built this country. And it's been agitators just like you, ordinary folks, from before 1776, all the way through, generation after generation, democratizing those documents of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. The first presidential election that chose George Washington, only 4% of the people were even eligible to vote. You couldn't vote if you were African American. You couldn't vote if you were a woman. You couldn't vote if you were Native American. If you did not come from European descendants and did not own property, you were not allowed to vote. That's right. It was you, ordinary folks, who stood up and did the extraordinary thing to democratize those documents over the years. So when they say to you that here you are talking about this corporate power, you're just a bunch of agitators. Remind them that the agitator is the center post in the washing machine that gets the dirt out. We need a lot more of that. We need your agitation. Randy D. was a proud agitator. Rhana is as well, and so are you. Rhana has said that she knows her walk is not the solution to this problem of the corporate perversion of our political process, but it is a step toward the solution, which perfectly echoes what Doris Haddock said in her time, that getting corporate money out of our people's politics is the essential first step to restoring the people's control over our elections, which means the control over our government, which means the control over public policy. All of our issues, every single thing that you and I want to support, that we want to have happen, every one of those are trapped behind that wall of corporate money in Washington and in our state capitals. Hike the minimum wage? Overwhelmingly, the American people are in favor of that, but it will not even get considered in the House of Representatives of our country. Equal pay for women? Yes, say the people. We're all for that, but it will not even be considered in the Congress of the United States. Medicare for all, not just a little bit of stuff, but Medicare for everyone. You're born, you get Medicare. That's it. All right. Will not even be talked about in Washington. First-class public schools, public parks, public libraries. No. We're going to defund all of that. Repair and extend America's infrastructure. No, we don't have the money for that because we got to go battle ISIS. Green energy rather than big oil fracking in our country. People are for that, but no, not going to be considered. Robin Hood tax on Wall Street speculators to fund what needs to be done. We've got the money. We know where it is. Jesse Jackson once said, he was once asked, where are you going to get the money to do what you're talking about? He said, I'm going to get it from where it went. It went to Wall Street. We're going to go get it. We're going to bring it back and put it in the hands of the people. Insert your own issue. And of course, the constitutional amendments to say that, one, inalienable rights belong only to actual human people, and two, money is not speech. Both of those things have overwhelming public support across this country. 85% of Democrats, 80% of independents, 76% of Republicans want to repeal Citizens United. And they're left, you know, Lyndon Johnson once said, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken manure. And that's all they've got. We had Mitch McConnell recently. Mitch is the leading Republican in the U.S. Senate. And Mitch was speaking to a Koch brothers conference out in Southern California a couple of months ago. Billionaires gathered there. He thought he was off the record. He got recorded and leaked to Nation magazine. Mitch McConnell in that thing assured the billionaires that all Citizens United did was to level the playing field for corporate speech. Who knew that they were being denied? The Supreme Court, he said, allowed all of you to participate in the process in a variety of different ways. It's Mitch's I have a dream speech. One day, at long last, every corporate billionaire will be free. Will be free to buy their own Congress critter. Great God Almighty, free at last, said Mitch. You hear a guy talk like that and you think, 100,000 sperm and you were the fastest? Well, doesn't seem possible. Of course, corporatists and cynics say that we can't win, even with such broad public support as we have, overwhelming public support. Both parties, they say, are owned by the moneyed elites. Constitutional amendment process is way too hard for ordinary people to get such an amendment passed. The Koch brothers' machine is too powerful, they tell us. Give up, they say, it can't be done. But a friend of mine who's been a pioneer in the organic movement said to me once that those who say it can't be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. And that would be you. Ordinary folks who are standing up to make this possible. Move to Amend, Public Citizen, and all the others that were cited here are literally on the move. 500 cities in 16 states have already sent formal petitions to the Congress asking them to send a constitutional amendment to the people. Let the people vote on this. That's an extraordinary thing to have happened in just a very few short years. They forced the Senate vote. We had a vote in the U.S. Senate just a couple of months ago, and we won. We didn't win totally because you had to have a 2/3 vote, but we won the majority of those votes. We're on the move. The barnstorming tour of Move to Amend, going from New Hampshire all the way out to Hawaii, up I-35 from Texas all the way through Minnesota. Move to Amend, all their affiliates. I don't know if you've seen this list, but it's city after city. We've got these affiliates out there. The people themselves are on the move, not waiting for the politician, not waiting for the lobbyists. And now we got the Bazzini Brigade right here in Sarasota, Florida. The power of one. And, you know, some say one person can't make a difference, but just remember this. Even the smallest dog can lift its leg on the tallest building. It makes a difference. The power of one is the power to inspire and rally and move others to action. First it'll be hundreds, like we have here. Then it'll be thousands. Then it will be millions. Some say, well, it's just a pipe dream. Well, Thomas Paine, when he was writing all those pamphlets, it was just a pipe dream. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, when she called a meeting, Seneca Falls, New York in 1842, it was just a pipe dream about women getting the right to vote. 4 farmers sitting around a table in a farmhouse just outside Lampasas, Texas in 1868. Just had a dream of maybe we could create a movement that would allow ordinary people, ordinary dirt farmers with labor, to be able to come together and take on the corporate powers. Dreams are what, pipe dreams are what make progress possible. That suffrage movement that I mentioned, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth, none of them ever lived to vote. They fought that battle. Didn't one time get to cast a ballot. But they created a movement. And it was 70 years later, a long, hard slog. They never lost faith. Susan Anthony said, it's coming sooner than most people think. That was in 1895. So it was 20, 30 years later before he got there. But because of that push, because of that determination, it happened. It all begins by speaking out, standing up, which is what we're doing here today, and what Rhana represents. You know, they say the first job of a citizen is to keep your mouth open. Well, we're pretty good at that. But it helps if that mouth is attached to a brain. And that's what these organizations represent that are backing Rhana's walk up to Tallahassee. You're the brain that provides the information and the connection that unites us with each other, and with information and with action, that we can all make a difference. I think of these organizations in terms of a little hardware store near my home in Austin called Harold's Hardware, just a little bitty thing. It's not one of those big box stores. You can go in there. You don't have to buy the carton of nails. You can buy 2 nails. They'd be happy to sell those here. They'll say, well, what are you trying to do? Well, I want to make this little lectern here. Well, let's pencil it out, they say, and see what you need. They'll loan you a tool. You can take a tool home, bring it back when you're through with it. And the slogan of Harold's Hardware is, together we can do it yourself. Now that's our slogan, isn't it? We can't do it ourselves. Rhana can't do it herself. She's got to have all of y'all around, and the many more people who are going to join this walk in this state and across other states as she is calling for. That's going to make the difference. We got to persevere. My friend Willie Nelson once told me, he said, Hightower, the early bird might get the worm, but it's the second mouse that gets the cheese. You might want to explain that to some of the slower ones. We've got to persevere. We've got to keep pushing. So I leave you with this thought. Mainly, believe in yourself. Believe in what you are doing and what you're standing for, because that is what America stands for. Just economic fairness, social justice, equal opportunity for all people. That's what America is. And it's not about money. It's about those values. And I'll leave you with this. It's from Patti Smith, the great rocker, who said that people had the power to dream, to rule, to wrestle the world from fools. That's what we're involved in. Thank you so much. Very proud to be with you. Thanks for what you're doing.